Hello, everyone, and welcome to the inaugural session of Let's Explore AI. We've worked hard on that title, right, Courtney, to kind of get that out there. And I'm delighted to introduce Courtney Blackman, who really needs no introduction, by the way. Courtney, as folks will know, is the head of partnerships and many other titles and roles at Lander and Rogers. And I'm going to be asking her to introduce herself in just a second, but we're super excited about this series and we're going to get into that in just a second. But firstly, Courtney, welcome. I know that we're going to kind of go backwards and forwards a little bit in this session, but I just can't tell you how excited we are to have you host this. So let me ask you the first question and say, tell us about you and the amazing work that you guys are doing in A&I at L&R.
Yeah, thank you so much, Terry. It's so nice to be here and welcome everybody. So yes, as Terry mentioned, I'm the head of partnerships at Lander and Rogers, and then there's a few other titles that kind of sit under that. So I'm the director of our Law Tech Hub. So for folks that aren't across that, that is an accelerator program that we do with mostly legal technology startups that are transforming the legal industry. So we're just recruiting for our 8th cohort, which is terribly exciting. So that'll be kicking off in a few months' time. Very excited for that. That again will have an AI focus. So if anybody is interested in learning more about that, just look up Law Tech Hub, Lander and Rogers. It should come up. But applications are open now, so we'd love anybody that's interested to come into that. The second thing that I do, I'm also the director of our legal tech and AI clinics. So that's where we work with universities, and we're generally working with final year and penultimate law students. This is our 3rd year doing our AI clinics with Monash, and we're going to be launching an AI clinic later in the month with QUT. And it's a very exciting day today because we just launched our 3rd AI clinic with Monash a few hours ago. So we're 3 hours into it, got our new group. And this particular clinic, we're going to be deep diving into how to use AI to kind of make the process easier for processing large amounts of medical records.
Oh, wow.
So really deep diving into a very specific realm.
That's very cool. I just love the stuff that you folks are doing, and that it really does run the full spectrum from before startups with law students and startups with law students and kind of all the way through. Yeah, it's just amazing.
Yeah. So thanks. So if I might just go back to you, Terry. So super excited to be here. And now, Terry, you're basically the legal industry's de facto leader. You are the person that everyone turns to for what's happening. So it is a real honor and a big responsibility to be hosting your creation. I'm going to say it's your creation. I know we flicked back and forth, but it really is what you thought up and what's Let's Explore AI. And we're going to be diving into what tech companies are doing in later episodes. But I just wanted to explore your impetus for launching this. What inspired you to want to do this?
Well, first, wow, no pressure, but thank you very much. But I think there's, I stand on the shoulders of many and stand alongside many, including yourself. So thank you for those kind words. Look, the impetus and really the inspiration for this is based on the work that we've been doing at the centre and the many conversations that I've had, and I guess the way too many articles and reports that I get to read in the course of my work. And what really kept jumping out at me is just there's a real need for folks to understand, particularly in legal, understand the technology, the AI, because I think that we can't really use this technology effectively unless we have some context, and we kind of understand why people have developed it and what it's trying to solve or whatever the case may be. So I wanted to create that opportunity of exploration, really. And create the platform for people to ask whatever questions that they wanted to, and then be able to, with that understanding, take it back to their own work.
Excellent. And very quickly, can you tell us a bit about the format? What's important about it, and what can listeners slash viewers expect to get out of it?
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to be laser focused on the AI bit. Now, it's really hard. You can't just separate that out from everything else. So there's going to need to be some sort of context in terms of the technology more broadly, but that's really the focus of this. And, it's in the name, as it were. But we want folks to see that AI in action. We want for them to understand, as I was saying, the story behind it, and get really up close and personal with it, and be able to ask questions. So over the course of the series, you'll be able to compare and contrast, hopefully learn a whole bunch that will help people make better decisions. And we've kind of tried to very, very, very deliberately wrap it into a 30-minute segment. So depending on what part of the world that you're with, you can have a breakfast, lunch, or dinner munch and learn, as you're kind of listening to and watching the series.
Excellent. And not to give too much away, but how will we be selecting the tech vendors and AI tools that we're featuring? What will the mix look like? Will it be big companies, small companies? What are we looking at?
We're going to go across the board. So really mix it up. So it'll be familiar and not familiar. It'll be established and not established. It'll be local and it'll be global. And what I'm hoping is in that mix, people will see what there is, but also what's coming down the pipeline. So the first demo that we'll have, like at this time on the 17th of March, is going to be with Smokeballs Archie. So that's an example of a product that is established, that has developed AI kind of as part of an existing platform. But we're going to be in all other respects looking at and pulling in kind of all manner of things.
Excellent. I'm excited. I'm excited to interrogate. And so it is a bit chaotic out there. It seems like in the AI space and in the legal space, it's changing, almost by the minute or by the hour. For you, what are some common misconceptions about AI in the legal industry? And what are we going to be looking to address with Lex Explore AI?
Yeah, absolutely. I guess with the misconceptions, these are the ones that I kind of hear a lot, I guess, is probably the best way to respond to that. So the first one is, and I'm sure you've heard this as well, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this question too. The first one is, it's too hard to upskill. It's just too hard. And of course, my response to that is, it's not. But yeah, I guess you kind of expect that. The second one that I hear a lot is, there's just too many issues to engage with. It's just too risky. And again, my response to that is, there's risks every time you take on a new matter. There's risks every time you employ a person. We're actually used to risks. This is just about monitoring and managing a particular type of risk. So we should be focusing on how we kind of expand that portfolio in a way, rather than contract our business or opportunities around it. I guess the other thing is, and we've heard this for a long time, really, it's not just limited to AI, is there's just too many features. There's too many bells and whistles. It's overwhelming. I can't deal with all of them. And to me, and I get that completely, to me, that's kind of like, okay, so let's just look at some of them. Let's get good on the basics and the ones we use every day. And then we can just layer other stuff in, again, in a way that we're quite familiar with. And the last one that I'll touch on, and this is probably my favorite, is that all of this stuff is not my issue. I'll just delegate this stuff, right? This is an IT issue, or this is a different demographic within our firm kind of deals with this. And of course, my response to that, and again, love to hear your thoughts on this, is you cannot delegate this. We're looking at a reinvention of our industry, actually, and this technology is pervasive. It's not just our industry, it's everything. It's impacting everyone and everything. You simply can't delegate it, because it is increasingly becoming an integral part to how you deliver legal services and products and solutions. So you kind of, to use a phrase, you got to get with the program, because you have to, or you won't be able to do your job. But what are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I think those were a lot of the misconception, and I think where we were really purposeful at Lander and Rogers, and I would encourage other people listening to think about that too, is it was a really strategic approach to AI. So we really thought about it deeply, and we approached it with a lot of purpose. So in 2023, that's when we launched our first AI clinic, and with that, we were really interrogating the firm. So we were embedding kind of an AI investigation team into the different practice groups within Lander and Rogers. And they were interviewing partners, senior associates, lawyers, et cetera, to see where they had maybe use cases that they thought AI could be used for. And then they went out and researched a lot of different AI platforms, ones that were already available, ones that could be coming online, and really built out this almost like a matrix of use cases that the firm could perceive could be solved with AI, and then the different tools that we could see implementing to target those tools, or sorry, to target some of those pain points. And then that later informed us into being one of the first firms in Australia to bring on Microsoft Copilot. So we were one of the first firms to have that. And then we launched at the beginning of last year, so beginning of 2024, an AI lab to really dig deep into it. And one of the things we did too around the upskilling was we established Copilot champions. So we had champions across the firm that were experimenting with Microsoft Copilot, really pushing the limits, seeing what they could do, what they couldn't do. And then those champions were kind of feeding it out to the broader firm. And then we built prompt engineering courses, really easy bite-sized 15-minute courses that people could take to get comfortable with communicating with AI, to see how they could chat with it, to get the most out of it. And we do a lot of education and change pieces around it to make sure we're bringing as many people along as possible. And it's very exciting. We're going to be rolling it out enterprise-wide soon, so everybody will have access to Microsoft Copilot. And then we use other AI platforms too. Landers is the first firm in Australia to have Westlaw Precision, so the research tool. So we're very bullish on AI, and we now have some of our clients and other folks, maybe smaller firms, reaching out to us, asking if we can help inform their AI strategy, because it's really overwhelming. There's so much information coming at us all the time. Product updates, feature updates, and then you've got the news that's feeding into, I would say, an overarching, maybe negative slant on AI and all the risks that are involved. So then that makes people a little bit more reticent to want to dive in and think about it. So it is a very chaotic space. So that's what I think is so great about Lex Explore AI, because we can deep dive into things and see where people are having problems and how we can try to address them.
Yeah, it is a bit of a mindset shift, isn't it, from kind of the way that for lawyers we've been typically trained, which is find all the problems and focus on those, versus let's just see for a second what the opportunities are, but do that cautiously. Know that it's not perfect and there's things that we've got to be careful with. But I think it's a big shift, I think, for law firms to make.
And we have, we made like AI guidelines, like policy guidelines, in 2023, when kind of AI was at the peak hype cycle, because we knew people were going to start looking at it, even if we didn't, adopt it in the firm. People are going to start looking at ChatGPT and things that you get. So we put out AI guidelines, and they're living it's a living document, and we are adjusting it all the time to adapt to regulation, to adapt to just changes, to adapt to everything. So I think that's probably one of a top tip for anybody watching or listening, is just to think about some policies that you might want to have in place to just kind of mitigate some of the risks that you think there might be for people using AI in a legal setting.
Yeah, it kind of helps with the fear factor too, doesn't it? That people feel there's that guidance there for them.
Exactly.
You're not doing anything that they shouldn't, or getting themselves or the firms or organizations into trouble. Yeah.
Exactly. So Terry, now my job for Lex Explore AI is going to be to ensure that the demos and discussions remain accessible and understandable for listeners who might not be super tech savvy. Do you have any tips for me? And are we collecting questions from people so that people that are tuning in might be able to engage and have some of their pressing questions answered?
Yeah, absolutely. Firstly, again, we're super delighted to have you host, and thank you very much. Really, really appreciate it. I'm also going to say you don't need any tips from me. You're amazing at what you do. So I'm just going to say keep doing what you do, and let's celebrate curiosity, because I think that's really fundamentally what we're talking about. We are definitely going to record the sessions. So some of them may lend themselves to a podcast format as well. Some of them may not. So we're just going to have to play that a little bit by ear to see how that works. But folks will definitely be able to come back and revisit them. In terms of questions, yes, I mean, I'm hoping that we get a bank of them that will both inform the sessions that will come, and also very open to suggestions of, you know, particular technologies, you know, again, that people would like to see us feature, or, you know, have someone kind of interviewed with respect to that. But we will also look at those questions to see whether or not there's a trend or a pattern in them. So other things might come out of that, and it may be related to tech demos, but it may also be related to the sort of conversations that we're having now. You know, do people want a session that just deals with an AI policy? And it's related to what we're doing, but maybe that will come out of the questions that we'll see as well. Or do folks want to, you know, have Ask Courtney tips to kind of put their AI strategy together? Maybe that's a session that will come out of it as well. So I expect those questions to be focused on the technology, but I also expect there's an opportunity for related or allied sessions, perhaps, around other questions that people have as a result of seeing the tech in action.
There. Well, I'm excited to see what questions people have, because,
Me
and
too.
like you said, podcasts will inform other podcasts, will inform other sessions, and just everybody staying on top of news and what's coming out and everything that's happening, I think will inform a lot of questions that people have, which is exciting. I've got a million questions about DeepSeek, if we've got anybody coming on from there, which I'm sure people
You
see.
and the whole world. Yeah, exactly.
So I'm really excited to jump into the next episode, obviously not today, but in March, which will feature Smokeball. And then ahead of that conversation, Terry, just going back and thinking through, are there any trends or developments in the AI industry that you're really excited about, that you want to kind of see being put on display in these conversations?
Well, speaking of DeepSeek, I think, you know, I think that is exciting. You know, some may also see it as concerning, but I think the exciting thing about DeepSeek is that it has now created a new path to great AI faster and cheaper. And that's undeniable. And I think, obviously, because they've chosen to, you know, to work in an open source environment. And that's fantastic. And I think we're already seeing a lot of work on that basis by other companies, but it's ultimately going to lead to AI generally being more accessible. That's got to lead to increased use, and it's got to lead to increased adoption. So for me, it's going to, because it happened right at the beginning of the year, it's going to be really interesting to see in December how much that alone has moved ahead. But I also think, you know, some of the, I'm going to use the term functionality, it's not particularly technical, but some of the functionality that DeepSeek model has also demonstrated is the use of, I guess, reasoners and agentic AI. And for legal, I think how that is going to manifest itself in the course, particularly of this year, to getting closer and closer to being able to produce what we would have considered to be a first draft, but almost a final draft, if this is adopted and it's run with in our industry, is going to be fascinating. It's going to be absolutely fascinating. I think what we're also seeing, this year is what I'm going to refer to as moving from a democratization of knowledge to a democratization of application. And it flows from what I was saying kind of a little bit earlier. I hope that's going to signal a really positive change in a very positive way to access to justice. I'm really, really hoping that it will. So my fingers are crossed there. I think we're also going to start to see emerge, and this is going to sound a weird thing to say, the real value of lawyers, because I don't think the real value of lawyers actually sits in doing routinized tasks that can be done almost autonomously by an AI agent or some form of AI. The real value comes very much from that ability to solve complex problems and the humanity that comes through. So I think I'm excited about the fact that we're going to see more and more of that coming to the forefront. And finally, in line really with that comment, but I think it's going to be fabulous to see, or continue to see, the celebration of the skills of all the people that it takes to deliver legal services today, the multidisciplinary aspect of that in particular. We just have, I mean, I just look at the complexity now in some respects, but the specialization around the sort of technology that we're now using, how we're using it, how it's put together, how it is focused specifically on use cases, all the work that we are doing in legal, and the sort of expertise that that takes, and that all of the expertise is sitting around the table now. And really working and focusing on an increasingly customized solution for clients. And I think we're going to see more and more and more of that. And I could not be more thrilled to see that happen, to see folks that may or may not have been recognised for their specialism and expertise in law firms, really having the seat at the table and being recognised and celebrated for that. That will be an amazing thing to see in 2025 as well. So I'm, you know, if I'm sounding positive, I am. I'm extremely positive about it. And I'm, you know, like a kid in the candy shop with excitement about where this is going to go. And not, again, you know, as I was saying earlier, not without an understanding of the risks and the caution that we need to exercise around this, but excitement about where this can take us as an industry and what we can do in terms of serving our clients is just amazing.
Yeah, we're really excited too. And one thing that I was just going to put out there is thinking about what lawyers really bring to the table is when we do these AI clinics. The first one that we did, a lot of the students signed up because they were very nervous about AI displacing them,
Yeah.
and their kind of roles as incoming lawyers kind of not really being necessary. But then once they came through our AI clinic, they realized that it's not going to displace them. They can't have a personal conversation. You know, an AI can't have a personal conversation with a client about something. It can't think of really nuanced kind of detail and complex strategy and things like that. And so once it kind of appeased them in a way to come through that clinic and understand, they'll be better served coming into the industry when they graduate, understanding how these platforms work, understanding the fundamentals of AI and how it can augment their role, but also giving them that kind of a surety that it's not taking their role, it's just there to make their job a bit easier. So it'll be interesting to see what happens when they come through.
Yeah. And I just want to say and compliment you too, particularly with the clinics that you're doing with the law schools. I've loved that it's introduced a intergenerational aspect of all of this into the firm. Not that it wasn't there already, but just that amazing kind of almost integration of different approaches, different ways of looking at the tech, different experience with the tech. Just almost a reverse mentoring and a mentoring happening at the same time. It's just an amazing kind of experiment and sandbox of all of those things as well, which I know the focus is on the tech, but there's all of these side benefits that are happening as well, right, at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. Because a lot of the students come in and they maybe haven't even worked on a team, or they might not have had exposure to a law firm. So they're getting team building. They're also learning the professionalism of working across, like, you know, a spectrum of different roles at a law firm. And so it's like the tech or the AI aspect of it is almost, you know, secondary or tertiary, where it's like they're learning and having this professional exposure that they they didn't really have before. So that's really exciting to watch too. And we
Yeah.
really put them through the ringer through our AI clinics. It's only a 12-week program, but 1 day a week, so effectively 12 days. And what we have them do in 12 days is pretty robust.
You hand out free defibrillators kind of throughout
Yeah.
yeah, wow. But it's the intensity of practice as well, though, right? That is what it is in a way, but hopefully now augmented with AI.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
One thing we're really proud of, last year we did an AI clinic with Monash, and the students put together ethical guidelines of using AI, which was fantastic. So we had them do a deep dive into all things ethical use of AI. So that's thinking bias, transparency, privacy, accuracy, and really deep diving into that. And they had to distill it all into a 2-page guideline, which was nearly impossible, but they did it.
Yes.
That all, everybody at Landers could just refer to if they felt that they were in an ethical conundrum, because one of our pillars in our AI lab, sorry, everything's called like AI clinic, AI lab, iHub, so it's very confusing. Maybe in 12 months when we're finished with this, everybody will know what we're doing at Landers. But we want everybody in the firm to just have access to things, and within our AI lab and our greater firm to be able to refer back and use some of this knowledge that we're building through the clinics.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward to the day where it's not artificial intelligence, it's just intelligence.
Mm.
And that it's kind of that represents that true integration of how we conceive and do work. It's just just like an outpouring of intelligence to solve that, for which everything else is just seamless. But I may not live for that day, Courtney, but it's there. I'm hopeful.
Wow, it's that the half hour went by fast.
Yeah.
But as we're just wrapping up, what are 3 words that you want people to get out of Lex Explore AI as we go through this program?
It would be learn, I guess, inspire, and do. Like
What's the
those?
do part?
Actually roll the sleeves up and get in and engage with it, because I do just think that's so critical. And I think as one does something, the nature of this work is that you want to inspire and collaborate with others and kind of help everybody, rise in terms of being able to do it. And learning, with this technology particularly, it's lifelong now. It's just continuous. And so I hope that we provide all of those opportunities through this series, and obviously with the contribution from the folks who will be joining us as well, either live or on demand. Yeah.
Excellent. Oh, any final words?
No, just to say thank you. Thank you to everyone who attended. And, if this is exciting, Courtney will be back in March with Smokeball and pretty much every month thereafter. And again, just want to underscore, if there really is a tech that you would like featured, we are absolutely 100% open to that. And you'll see in the recording, you'll also see how to contact us. So that would be amazing. And of course, feel free to reach out to Courtney as well. And Courtney, thank you very much again for agreeing to be our host.
Oh, no, thank you so much, Terry. It's a real pleasure. Can't wait.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye.